right, so today we are going to start our two-day learning process of solving nonlinear inequalities. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds or so just to write down this definition, and I will talk about it in about 30 seconds. All right, so a polynomial inequality has this general form of f of x being less than or equal to 0. F of x is less than 0. So what this is talking about is it's kind of taken, like instead of being an equation equaling 0, it's going to be less than or equal to 0, less than 0, greater than or equal to 0, or just greater than 0. And the inequality f of x is less than 0 is true if f of x is negative, which means that when I plug that x value into this equation, this is negative compared to 0. While f of x being greater than 0 is true when f of x is positive. So that means that when I plug in an x value and I get a positive number, that means it's true. So let's look at an example. First example we're going to look at here is x squared minus 8x plus 16 is less than or equal to 1. So what I want to do first is get one side to be 0, so I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. And I end up getting x squared minus 8x plus 15 is less than or equal to 0. So what I want to do first is factor out this expression. So when I do that, I end up with x minus 3, x minus 5. And it's less than or equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is just set each of these quantities equal to 0. When I set x minus 3 equal to 0, I get x to be 3. When I set x minus 5 equal to 0, I get x to equal 5. So because of this being an inequality, it's going to be some sort of compound inequality, and I just got to figure out what values is it true for. So I'm going to make a number line. And I have 3 and I have 5 in this inequality. So it's either going to be true between these two values or on either side. So it's going to be either an and one or an or one going in opposite directions. So in order to find out if it's going to be between these two values or going in opposite directions, I'm going to have to plug in values that are on this side of 3, between 3 and 5, and on this side of 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 0 into this inequality. I'm going to plug 3 into this inequality. I'm going to plug 4 in because it's between 3 and 5. And then I'm going to plug in 6. So when I plug 0 into this inequality, I get 15. Is 15 less than or equal to 0? No, so it's not true. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug 3 into this equation. And I've already done this. When I plug 3 into this inequality, I get 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 0? Yes. So I know that this is part of my inequality. So what I want to do is plug 4 in to this inequality. And when I plugged 4 into this inequality, I got it to be negative 1. Is negative 1 smaller than or equal to 0? Yes. So I know the values between 3 and 5. Any value between 3 and 5 is true. So the next thing I want to do is plug 5 into this inequality right here. When I plug 5 in, I get 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 0? Yes, so I know that's true. And then when I plug 6 into this inequality, so I do 6 squared minus 8 times 6 plus 15, I get 3. Is 3 smaller than or equal to 0? No. So I know that it's going to be between, my solutions are going to be any number between 3 and 5. So I know x is between 5 and 3. But I also know that it can be equal to 3 because that makes it true. So this is my solution to this inequality. Okay, so what I did first was solve the inequality. Okay, got one side to be 0. I factored out the inequality, figured out what x could equal to make this equal to 0. And then I chose values between 3 and 5 and on either side of 3 and 5. Plugged it into the inequality to see what makes it true. So let's look at another one. So let's look at this equation right here. All right, I have x minus 4 squared is greater than 4. Well, because I know it's a quantity squared, I have x minus 4 squared is greater than 4. So because I have a quantity squared, I can square root both sides. And I end up with x minus 4 is greater than plus or minus 2. So what I'm going to do is set x minus 4 equal to positive 2. X minus 4 equal to negative 2 and figure out what x could equal. So I get x to be 6, and then I get x to be 2. So on my number line, I know that I have 6 as a possible value and 2 to be a possible value. Kind of like what I did before, I want to plug a value in between 2 and 6, which I'm going to plug 4 into this inequality. Okay? And then I'm going to plug in 7. And I'm going to plug in 0. So I'm going to plug 0 into this inequality. And I can always plug it into the other one, the original one. So when I plug 0 into this inequality, I get 16. Is 16 greater than 4? Yes, so that's a solution point. Now I plug 2 into this inequality. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. Is 4 greater than 4? No. So this is not a solution point. Now I'm going to plug 4 in. 4 minus 4 squared is 0. Is 0 larger than 4? No. So I know this is not a solution point. And then I plug 6 in. 6 minus 4 squared is 2 squared, and that's 4. Is 4 greater than 4? No. Okay. Then I plug 7 in. 7 minus 4 is 3. When I square 3, I get 9. Is 9 greater than 4? Yes. So what I see is on either side of 2 and on the either side of 6. And what I notice is that 6 and 2 are not solutions because it's not equal to, but it's very close to it. So what do I know about x? I know that x is going to be smaller than 2, or x is going to be greater than 6. Okay? So what I have for you guys is I have some answers to the next two questions, and we will talk to you later. Here are the answers to the next two questions.